What is up? I think my screen. There we go. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate and Stuff. How you guys doing?
Thanks for having us. Good in the
Oh, you're
Asheville
welcome.
at the Asheville house.
Yeah, you
Nice.
guys make fun of me for being a part of a country club. Meanwhile, the real flex is having a house in Asheville, North Carolina, one of the most expensive places in the mountains out there.
2 houses, but no country
Two-
club out here.
No country. You're missing out. I was at the club earlier today, went for a 3-mile run, then hopped in the pool and lounged around for a bit before I took my wife out on a lunch date, and then I'm over here for a podcast. So
Love that.
it's been
It's
a
a
nice
solid
little morning.
Friday right
It's a
there.
full day. I got the
I'll tell you
I got
what.
the Papa P attire on too today. I did a
Oh,
Papa
You're all
P
black?
move. I'm on a Baltimore, North Carolina trip. I have like 5 of the same black V-necks packed. Just simple. It's easy.
Boom, boom, dude. Just like throw them in. You don't care. Although it sucks. When I got back, I took my dog on a walk, and it's like 105 degrees outside. I'm wearing black shirt, black pants, black shoes. Just like I'm walking around. I'm like one of these fucking fat dudes just walking around with like a sweat towel, wiping sweat off as I'm walking in this heat, walking with a black dog who's panting. It's just like we're not built for this, bro. Like we need to go up north.
Oh, God.
Anyway, good to be here. Good to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been out this week, so I don't have much real estate conversation topics to bring to the table. I can talk about turtles if you guys would like. That's been my week so
No.
far.
I have an update for you.
Yeah, let's do it.
So it's not closed yet.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna jinx everything. Knock on wood. But I had a memo dispute. I think I mentioned on the podcast a week or two ago.
The one from a while ago, right?
Yeah. So it was like this guy seriously had messed up our business because we had a lot planning on this assignment, especially some months. You know, we had spent a lot of money on this marketing. We were getting this deal. We are like, boom, this is going to propel that marketing channel forward. The day of closing, something happens to the guy's like father-in-law, stroke. They can't close. So it's extension after extension after extension of, well, he's going to die. We'll sell it when he dies. The guy never fucking died.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Well, apparently he died in March. He hadn't been picking up for us anyway. So he signs a contract with another company, and we get a call from the title company. Horrible title company, honestly. Like they did a shit job talking to me. They didn't give a fuck. Memo to people. If you're going to get in a contract memo dispute, I advise my personal experience is for you to handle it and not have the title company handle it. Especially if they actually do have a valid contract. Like you can have the title company reach out. I would definitely have the title company reach out, get verification of the contract, have them talk to the other title company, make sure there's an EMD being held, make sure it's all legitimized, that they mention it, have an attorney review, whatever it is. But once all that's handled, if you want to negotiate, pick up the phone yourself and talk to the other investor and work something out instead of having this title company who gives zero shit. So anyway, long story short, like they had signed a higher contract than us. You know how it goes. It's a year later, and it makes sense, right? It's a freaking entire year.
Yeah.
To almost to the day this week. I think it would have been like last week would have been our closing date. So yeah, he got more money, and that was it. And now the title company wanted me to release it, and I wouldn't. And I was like, I'm actively trying to buy this. Like I want this deal. I'm not bullshitting around. This was not something that I maybe could have sold. We were at the day of closing. Okay, this was my property. And like a week or two go by, and this title company hasn't done jack shit. They're like, well, if the guy can negotiate the seller down to your price, would you be willing to split the difference or take the difference? And I was like, I plan on buying it, but if you're telling me he's able to do that and you want to offer me money, I would consider it. And that was that. Never heard back, and I'm like, okay. Anyway, we're pursuing the seller, and we're going to close it, and we've talked to him, and we offered to pay him more than what we were going to pay, so we're not holding him to our thing. We had an extension or an addendum, but moral of the story is 2 days ago, the investor called me. And what I wanted to say, and I don't know this guy's name, nor do I want to call him out, but He was probably one of the best professional people I know about how he handled
Oh,
this.
that's impressive.
I
Rare.
wasn't
for the
expecting it.
space.
I wasn't expecting it to go down this turn.
Yeah, you thought, knowing me, you thought I was
Yeah.
going to bitch about it. Be like, fuck this guy.
Or just that it was something
No,
that bad happened.
Well, yeah, because I've dealt with them before,
Yeah.
right? Like I have in my years, I've dealt with so many of these things that I don't look forward to them because it's always a dick measuring
Mhm.
contest, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go down that route here. And the guy calls me and he's just very upfront with me. He's like, "Listen, man," he's like, "I am so and so, and I'm going to buy X property. I did not know at the time that he was under contract with you. Otherwise, I would have not put it under contract." So he started off right. And he goes,
Mhm.
"But with that being said," he's like, "I am going to release the contract." He's like, "But do you want to sell it to me? I would love to buy this from
Hey.
you." And I'm like, and at the time I'm like, "No, man, like we're going to keep it for ourselves. Like, this is now a personal thing. Where like I have this, and I told him the backstory, and he's like, wow. And he goes, "Guess what? I've been going after this property since 2019." So he had me beat on the follow up for like a 2 years almost, because I think we were tracking it maybe since the end of 2020, beginning of 21.
Oh,
I think it was
interesting.
probably like I'd have to go back into my IF3 and kind of see like the timelines of when we got the lead to when we actually contracted. But I'm pretty sure I know it was a cold call and it came through like back then. Anyway, so he was doing it, but the thing is we got the contract legitimately before him.
Mhm.
And so he recognized that. He reviewed our contract apparently and saw the memo and everything. We had our deposit. Everything was on the up and up. And I just thought it was nice. And so we chit chatted and we talked business for a while, and there was no dick measuring. And then I was like, "Listen, man," I was like, "even if it's not this, I would like to do business with you." You know what I mean? Like if you're buying or if we JV on stuff, you know what I mean? Like I have no problem with that. Um, but I like the way he handled it. So I was just going to throw that out there, that I think a lot of people should take note, because he realized it wasn't a dick measuring, like, "Well, I'm going to fight you on this and I'm going to try to go to the seller to then have him cancel your contract and then
Mhm.
have him sell it to me. And I'm going to offer him more money than what you're going to try to do. And I'm just going to make him fight it. And we could do this." Yeah, it was none of that.
That's awesome.
And I thought that was pretty cool. So
A rare great story in a difficult situation in real estate.
yeah, I mean, it's still not closed. There's still no guarantees in this, but yeah. And the funny thing is, he got it under contract when the father-in-law did die. So the guy died finally. I say that horribly, but the guy died finally in March. So they were finally ready. They were able to, because they couldn't do it with an ailing person in the house. So it was timing, right? And the guy, we couldn't get a hold of him. So they did, and he signed with them. And guess what? He's like, "Man, the guy swore he was not under contract with anybody else." When we had asked him, and then when we found your thing, we asked him again, and he swore he never signed anything with you. And I'm like, "Bro, that's complete bullshit. Let me tell you a story." And I was like, it was the day of closing, and I don't know because I don't handle it. So I'd have to ask Brittany, but I'm pretty sure the story goes that he was at the title company and left. So I'm not exactly sure. He was either at it or on the way to the title company. We were like an hour away from closing, because I remember, because we were driving to Pennsylvania when we got the phone call.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
So it was a wild ride for the past year of chasing this guy down, but hopefully it all comes to an end. But, I thought that was
Interesting.
just-
So
It is.
have you talked to the seller in this?
I went and met him again, but the
Yeah.
problem is it's always tough to get back a hold of him.
Yeah.
So now again we're trying to get back a hold of him. He's really old, so it's not always like he, I don't know, hears or picks. You know how it goes, like these
Yeah.
guys. Like, so we're always it's a perpetual chase. But yeah, so I met him and we've talked, and he, and he wanted to know. He was like, "I just want to make sure that this isn't a scam." And I looked at him and I said, "Sir, I don't know how to answer that, because if it was a scam, I would still assure you that it wasn't a scam." And I said, and I legitimately said that. And I said, "But what I can say is there are a lot easier ways to make money than to be chasing down one property for a year if this was a scam." And I said, "I legitimately have been trying to buy this property from you for over a year now. So you can rest assured that when I say I'm going to buy it, I am going to close this deal as fast as human." He's like, "Well, when can I get my money? I would like to get this done very quick." And I looked, and his wife's sitting there, and I kind of smirked, and I was like, I don't know how to say it, but yes, I want to get this done as quick. And the wife laughed and was like, "You want to get rid of us, don't you?" And I was like, "I wasn't going to say it that way. Wasn't going to say it that way. But it is in both of our interests to get this done as fast as humanly possible."
Oh my gosh.
How much of that would potentially, like that whole situation, how much of that would potentially be helped by title company currently moving to more like blockchain stuff? Because I don't know if the contract would necessarily like go to like be publicly posted somewhere. Like if you saw that the other guy was under contract, or if he saw you were under contract.
I don't know enough about how that would work. I mean,
Mhm.
the way the title system works now with us recording it at the courthouse, I mean, as soon as the title search is done, they found it. So title did their job, found it immediately. I'm sure as soon as it got under contract, they opened title. Within 10 days, they knew I was under contract with them. I got a phone call, I answered, emailed them over the contract documents, did a group email to get my title company with them to prove that blah, 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 everything. So I don't know if blockchain would have changed anything. But switching topics, shout out to all the people who've been by who've had held XRP for the last few years. You got your payday yesterday, and I
Ethereum
have
is
What's
up a little
already
bit as
XRP?
well. I saw Ethereum is.
XRP. So listen to this for all my crypto holders out there. I sit in my office with Bloomberg on.
Yeah.
Bloomberg is widely what we would say a very left type of thing, but I still watch it. Anyway, I get an email and I see it on my alerts that I have, all kinds of stuff, that XRP, the SEC ruled in XRP's favor. Two things. One, ruled in its favor that it is not a security, because that's why they were with the SEC and they halted trading on XRP, because they were deeming it was a security the way they handled their issuances. But, and there's more detail to that, but it's a two-part ruling. One, it is not a security when it's out on an exchange selling to people like us, but it is considered a security when it is being issued to large institutions at offering or something like that. And I don't know the exact details. So it's funny because the media had two different ways to spin it. I'm reading this and I'm like, well, that's a great thing, because I read it and I'm like, cool. I'm not worried about Wall Street issuances. I just want to know, like, can it be traded on exchanges because it's not a security? Is Coinbase going to relist it? All these things. And everything's like, yes, this is a huge win for XRP. Huge win, huge win, huge win. I walk over, no shit, to my TV over here, like walk around my desk, look up. It's flashing on Bloomberg. Huge win for SEC. Judge ruled it is a security because they took the part that they wanted, right?
Yeah.
And then at the very bottom, but isn't a security for individuals. And that was like a 4-word sentence for the real story, but the way they were pitching it on the media was huge win for SEC. This gives the SEC a lot of leeway going forward, blah, 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 with how they handle these things. But that's not the full fucking story. But it's how Bloomberg wanted to portray it to their viewers. And I was blown away and I just started laughing. I was like, this is fucking crazy. This is the big media right here trying to control how we perceive the news.
Yep.
Anyway, but
Nice
yeah,
journalism.
it jumped like 70-some% yesterday. So
Oh, wow. So it's already being traded again?
Yeah, Coinbase is listing it in me. I mean, you could still trade it. Like I bought it off market. Like you could still buy it off market through like the DeFi networks and stuff. Like I had traded, I forget where I got mine, and I hold it in my wallet. So I'm good, and I've just been, I couldn't do anything with it anyway, so I just held on to it, and albeit I had it at a higher price than where it was at yesterday, but this gives it the room to fucking run. Like, so I've been holding on to it, bro. Like you're good. So to my wife, who told me that we should probably sell it, hodl for life.
My judgments are sound. Hey, good news for crypto. I'm sure crypto could have done with some good news.
Yeah, it's been rough.
It has been rough. It has been rough. What's going on with you, Carlos, in the real estate world?
Not too much. Was on the Carrot Summit last minute.
Yeah, fill us in.
I don't know if you heard.
Oh, yeah.
Great-
So
some
did you go?
great
Because I got a
speakers.
text message and I was like, I'm at a turtle survey.
So I didn't see too much. I was on there for like 10, 15 minutes with Trevor. But most of it was going on. I was working while most of it was on. It was cool how they consolidated into one day. Sounds like they got really good feedback from viewers and people that registered from it. Looks like people got a ton of value. But I saw some of Brent Daniels' presentation. I saw some of David Letko, Deal Machine, right before I went on. I missed the AI conversation, which is probably going to be pretty interesting with Brent Moreno was able to hop on towards the end with Alex, and I forget who else was on there. But it was cool. We got some demos from it. I don't know if anybody's going to convert right away, but still some solid interest there. And overall, just a cool free summit. A lot of people were saying that's the type of stuff that people would charge a $9.97 type thing for, that was just free. So that was cool. Trying to think what else I have going on this week. That's kind of it. When I'm traveling, it's a little different. Just working off one screen, but yeah, that was definitely a highlight of the week. Was the
two-screen wall.
Yeah, was the Carrot Summit. That was pretty cool.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah, I hopped on for 10 minutes and did a little InvestorFuse product spiel, which was fun. I haven't had to do something in such a speak for such a short amount of time period and cover a lot of content. So that was a good test for me. But yeah, no, it's fun to talk about what we currently have, talk about some of our customers, and then kind of talk about what we're building with AI. So yeah, it was good. It's a good experience for sure. Excited to be on that.
And yeah, Vince Hall. That's why I messaged you guys earlier for Vince Hall and Justin Dossie coming on the podcast. Vince Hall was watching the summit and saw me on there. He's like, "Man, me and Justin want to get back on the podcast, so they want to get a date in August booked." And they sound like they're both on board.
Let's bring them on. Let's fucking bring them on.
They both do their handwriting thing too, right? They can speak to that as well.
I don't know Vince, but Justin, yeah, absolutely.
That's Ballpoint.
You mean Ballpoint? Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Forgot the name. Ballpoint Marketing. That'd be good to kind of chat and see if we can get some insight into that. I'd be curious to see if they've seen an increase in direct mail in the last year or so. People going that route.
That is certainly a topic of conversation, including this week and last week. Since we did a pre-record last week, we have a little bit more time between episodes. People are definitely just not scared or nervous, but just very cautious with texting, and they don't want to do,
as they should be.
Yeah, they don't want to do much work or as little work involved as possible as far as registering numbers or making sure numbers are clean or any type of best practices as far as making sure you're not going to get in trouble and your texts get received. So yeah, the marketing landscape we've talked about a few times, but still interesting to see what's going down here.
Yeah, I mean, texting, August 31st, numbers will start not being able to send messages anymore. So quickly coming. So it's certainly something that everybody needs to be aware of and prepared for. If you haven't registered your A2P 10 DLC, get on that quickly. They have a giant backlog that they're working through, so it's going to take time.
I think I'm good. I don't text. My stuff's all through smartphone individual lines.
But you registered through smartphone?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But I don't mass text though. I just as we're talking, we text.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's going to be a lot of concerns for. I think we're lagging there. I was gonna say I don't think there's a lot of concern for people that are doing normal follow up where a lead comes in and they're communicating with the lead. I think that follow up is going to be perfectly fine. And the concern for sure is people that are using things like Launch Control, REI Reply, Lead Sherpa, anything that's
they're fucked. Yeah, my smartphone says progress to A2P compliance. Your business profile was successfully verified. So
then you have to register a campaign.
So I need to select an A2P 10 DLC plan and submit for verification. Whatever. I don't fucking care. It'll be fine.
Finish that process.
But I'm only doing regular follow up. I'm not mass texting.
Doesn't matter. You still have to register for a campaign.
Bullshit. Is that true? Do I got to do that?
It's 100% true. If that number is not attached to a campaign, your numbers will be blocked. Your messages will be blocked on
That's stupid, John.
Profile step number 1. Step number 2 is create a campaign. And then step number 3 is assign phone numbers to that campaign.
Send low volume select up to 6,000 messages, send up to 6,000 messages a day. You don't even need.
Yeah, most people will be in low volume for when they're doing just regular follow up.
This is fucking gay. I'm not gonna do this while I'm on the phone. I've been distracted. So I was distracted. I was sending a text message a little bit ago. So I'm selling this mobile. It's my last one that I got. You guys know I've been talking about selling all my assets, but this one I have it on seller finance, and the seller is holding a note on it. And I talked to her. So our goal was to sell it because I've been talking to the lady about going in on mobile home parks with us. So I want to make sure this gets sold because then she's going to go and buy a park with us with that money. And I'm trying.
Nice.
So that's what I've been working on, is trying to convert a lot of my regular money people into mobile home park money people. You know, so that's what's going on here, because I realized that
So you bought it seller finance.
I bought it from
so,
her. I bought it from
Okay.
her. We have great rapport. We chit chat all the time about life and horses and all kinds of stuff. Not that she
Horses.
likes horses. I like Heartland. I watch Heartland. I learn about horses through
same.
Heartland. But she's a big horse lady. She loves horses. I always love hearing her stories. But and we've talked, and she has a couple other properties that I've talked about helping her sell, because like the returns she's getting don't make sense for her, because she's older, and when you think about it, you own a couple mobiles, and you still got roofs, you still got all this stuff. It's still active for her. She's got to hire the lawn people. She's got a lot of stuff to manage, when really she wants to be as passive as possible, which is why she sold me the other one a couple years ago. And I felt like it was only when I decided I wanted to sell it, and I kind of had this idea, I called her and I just wanted her to know up front. And I said, but I don't want to leave you in the lurch. Like, I know you want to put your money to work, and I've talked to you about this before. And so she was.
Oh, is that why she wanted to do seller finance? Because she didn't have
Yeah,
anywhere to put the money?
100%. And that was my pitch. This was back in like
Yeah.
2020, I think, is when I got it. Maybe something like that, 21. And that was my pitch. And she's like, well, why am I going to sell it? What am I going to do with my money? And I was like, funny, you should ask that.
Do I have a conversation for you?
And so she likes the idea of parks. And this was a lot for me to ask. And then, because you're really putting yourself out there trying to raise money. And then when I did, I had hung up with her, and I had gotten a phone call back from her within like 5 minutes. And she said, Brandon. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, I wanted to ask you. She's like, what, can you explain a little more on like the returns and how this works? So I went into more detail. And she's like, I'm asking because a friend of mine is selling her house, and she wants to put her money to work. And I figured I'd mention it to her. And if maybe I could connect you to, so you could do that with her as well. And I was just like, man, like that's really what you got to just start putting yourself out there and having these conversations with a lot of the people you've either flipped houses with. And I have the people who've given me money for flips. I've started putting myself out there like, hey, listen, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
But have you thought about blank? And instead of being just debt, you could become equity partner. And you'd be surprised. Like, I was very surprised at how receptive people were to this, especially not because it wasn't just two things. It wasn't just an idea. I've already done one.
Right.
And two, I wasn't coming to them with a deal. So it wasn't that I was asking them and then pitching them. I was just asking them and then saying, it's not like I have anything right now. I just wanted to talk to you about it. And if we get anything, I just want to be able to call and talk it over with you. So it's not like I was strictly had like a motive for that convo. So I felt like I was being received a lot differently than had I had been like, so I just thought, I was pretty proud of myself, because it's not something I do all the time, but something I'm trying to get more used to, is raising money and talking to people about what I'm doing.
It's useful too that she's been through seller financing with you, so she kind of understands how you want to structure this.
She trusts me.
Well, and she understands the deal you want to make
with
the mobile home park owner. Like, it's not like a foreign concept for her.
Exactly. And so it's the rapport too. I mean, if I miss payments, it'd be a different story, right? If she wasn't making money off me, it'd be a much different story. But she trusts that, so I have 2 years of credibility with her, doing what I said I was going to do, which surprisingly is like a pretty big fucking thing.
Yes, it is.
That's kind of like Mitch Steven when he talks about like raising money from people too.
Yeah, fill me in.
Not with this specific where you'd already been talking horses and building rapport with this lady, but when he meets with people and they ask, oh, what, like they're asking Mitch Steven, like, oh, what do you do? And he kind of, what's the term I want to use? He kind of like doesn't fully explain, like, oh, I take people's money, invest in the deals, pay them X amount. He just goes, oh, I help people make money off real estate passively. and then he just kind of doesn't say it. Like he goes like silent. Like he's trying to like pique their interest by like not showing his whole hand, kind of,
Mhm.
even if he doesn't have a
Yeah.
specific deal or anything like that. And then he just builds those contacts, and is able to have a
Yeah.
lot of money for. He has more money than deals, always.
Yeah. That's where I'm at right now. And I don't even know where that goes from there, is because I have people who have said yes to me. So it's a tough thing, because you have people that say yes and now you want to do a deal, and then I'm looking at all these deals, but I want to make sure I pick the
Right.
right ones to impress the people, because this is my first rodeo. It may not be. I've known a couple of these guys I've known for like a decade.
Mhm.
So it's not like it's the first time we've made money together, but it'll be the first time they've trusted me on something like this. So now it's not even a matter of having a deal. I want to make sure I have
right.
the deal,
Yeah.
the right one, to make sure I get a second dip and a third dip, and they tell their friend. And you know what I mean? I get that whole word of mouth thing going. So there's a little pressure. I was telling my wife, I was like, I just feel a lot of pressure because I'm shopping all these deals and I have offers out and I'm talking to agents. And it's like, I got to pick the right ones right now. You know, like we can't F this up and pick one that does subpar. I want to make sure I do one. You don't do one just to do
Yeah.
one,
Mhm.
you know?
Interesting.
So, but it's like where you went with that Mitch Stevens comment, like that's interesting because, you know, when I'm talking to people, especially at the club, people say, what do you do? And I don't tell them. I just say, well, I invest other people's money in mobile home park, and that's it. We run parks. And that's kind of like my pitch is I don't go in. I'm not trying to raise money. I'm not trying to do anything. People want to know what I do. I give them a quick little excerpt of it, and that's that.
The elevator
Which also
pitch.
sounds a lot cooler than I wholesale deals.
It's
Mhm.
true. Yeah, I'm sure there's like a stigma attached to wholesaling now if you meet somebody randomly. But yeah, to say like I invest people's money into mobile home parks, and it's a different conversation with a different stigma, I'm sure.
Quick
I
bullet point without trying to intentionally trigger Papa P.
Yeah.
But just to show how mainstream wholesaling is these days. One of my buddies who's getting into flipping house, like actually flipping houses, like renovating and reselling them.
Yeah.
He asked me, he goes, yeah, like there's this, he's like, yeah, like I know some realtors, like I can make offers on the MLS. He's like, I can talk to wholesalers. Now that I've met a couple wholesalers. He's like, there's also this like marketplace called Investor Lift you might have heard of where I can make offers. But he's like, all the properties seem just like the same price as the MLS. So it's funny that
Yeah.
it's like so mainstream now. I'm like, yeah, no, Investor Lift. We did like the intro webinar with them years ago. But just a different day and
Yeah,
age than it was
right.
Yeah.
5,
It
10
is.
years, even 5 years ago. It's just a completely different day and age out there in the real estate investing streets.
So it's funny you said that stigma. So it's tough. I think I need to work out maybe like who I am a little bit better to people. I say that and then I'll explain it. I had been patrolling Facebook, blah blah blah, found a deal. Guy emailed it to me, picked up the phone, and I called him after I reviewed it. We're talking, and he goes, "Tell me a little bit about yourself." Da 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 da. And he goes, "Let me ask you some questions." And he starts going down the list. He goes, "So what is it that you do?" And then he asks the question. He goes, "Are you a wholesaler?" And it was I want to say, like, when you're asking questions, there's a tonality in a context, and the way he asked this one was different. And so I was caught because, one, I'm not going to lie, but I also want to be very truthful, like, as to who I am, but also why I'm doing this. And I'm like, listen, man, I understand why you're asking that. And so I'm going to tell you, yes, I am. I've been doing real estate like 13 years. I've flipped, I've wholesaled, I've done everything. If you see me on Instagram, you'll see that. So I can't hide it. But no, I am not a wholesaler as to why I'm talking to you about this deal. And then he goes, because I want you to know the seller knows that I'm helping him sell this and I'm marketing it out there. And my fee's built in. And I have good rapport with the seller, which you could tell he was very defensive to that point, as to letting me know, like, don't try to go
Right.
around my back on
Right.
this, because now I've given you the address, I've given
Mhm.
you all the details, you know my price, you know all this. And I was like, and I had to, like,
Calm him
I
down.
just felt like I had to not calm him down, but like explain myself. And I was like, man, it's like, and I thought like maybe I should have just lied and been like, no, I'm not a wholesaler, but then that's not the
Right.
truth. And it's like, and I explained everything to him. But it's funny that even in that realm, like, and we're talking parks, right? We're talking $1 million deal, $1.5 million deal. Like, it's still a thing. And I got stories for days, dude. I've had a wild week. So anyway, that's that. And I just thought that that stigma sticks into mobile home parks because he was very concerned as to whether I was going to snake his deal. And I'm like, bro, like, it's your deal, dude. Like, I don't care how much you make. The numbers are the numbers. Like, he's like, I'm not even making that much on it, just so you know.
Mhm.
I have really good rapport. And he's like explaining himself. I'm
I
like,
also
It's
got a
sad that it's
family.
gotten
I
to
also got a
that.
I also got a family back home. I got 4 kids, and this is
yeah,
how they're.
like, I got kids, bro. I got kids. Don't do this. And I'm like, I was just like, bro, like, I don't give a fuck, dude. Like, do what you do, man. Like, that's everyone's got to make their money. Like, and I agreed with him, like, bro, I don't like wholesalers and daisy chainers either. I'm not trying to daisy chain this. Like,
So
that's
he's
not
not a
what this is.
wholesaler? He's a realtor?
He is
Okay.
a wholesaler,
Okay.
but he's not. So, like, what I've learned
Yeah.
is that these mobile home park wholesalers are not
Right.
wholesalers. They're middlemen. They're deal finders. Like, they don't consider themselves wholesalers. They're of a different class or a different breed, if that makes
Sure.
sense.
Sure.
Like, there's bankers, and then there's bankers. You know what I mean? Like, you can work at your local Wells Fargo and be considered a banker, or you can work at Wells Fargo up on Wall Street in their investment banking division, and you're a banker. And that's kind of where, like, as I'm talking to these guys, like, they're
Yeah.
here.
Mhm.
Regular wholesalers are down
Yeah.
here, but you're still a fucking wholesaler because you're putting your fucking fee in there and you're cold calling just like everybody
Yeah.
else.
It's interesting it's gotten to that stigma. I mean, we've talked about it so much on this podcast of just all the people that come in and have been doing shitey things.
Mhm.
Oh my god.
And it's
Bro.
just like, you have to, like, here's my resume as a real estate investor. Yes, it does include the word
I felt like I had to do that. Yeah.
I'm a real person with ethics, and his
Yes.
Is that a block? And that's another. I don't know why I keep thinking blockchain today, but I wonder. And we've talked about that.
blockchain. Yeah, well, yeah, certificate of authenticity.
Like
it
instead
would-
of
yeah,
because Papa P has talked about that. I feel like on the episode like a few months ago we talked about like, hey, here's like the deals I've done, or like, hey, or it's like, how do you verify somebody's like legit? Like if you're working.
100%. There is actually a blockchain for certificate like authenticity. Yes, where it would go through. I think that's Cody, the network that does that. They're part of the Cardano network. But yeah, I think that's how they work. I might be mistaken on getting that name mixed up. But there's actually that type of thing where it goes on your authenticity of previous things that you have done on that blockchain. So I could see that being something 100%. Listen, we could go wild with this because then I get way into the control thing because then you have like,
everybody knows.
where does it end? Now you're tracking everything I'm
Right.
doing, and it's like, but that might not be a bad. I'm not saying it's a bad
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Like, I think that could really put to bed a lot of shit, actually, real fast, real fast.
Like if
Yeah.
someone's wallet or something was just like public and you could just see like what
my wallet, you could see.
and
my
I mean
wallet. You could see that.
realtors like on Zillow, you can see transactions like realtors have done.
Well, that's like the MLS.
Yeah.
Like, so you could see if you go back in the MLS, you'll see all my deals. Like, if I tell you I did 300 transactions in a year, which I did, like, you could go type my name into the MLS and go see that I have done that many transactions, or I'm a fucking liar. Like, it's that easy. So it's a good and a bad thing. It just depends. Like, it goes to the CBDC conversation about control. Like, what? Then you shut me down, and then I can't commit anymore. I can't do any more transactions on the blockchain because of that. Like, that's where it starts to get where no title company will do business with me because I have some flag on my blockchain ID or my digital ID. Like,
that's different than like the homeowner score too. Sorry to keep cutting you off, John. That's different than the homeowner score that they talked about. And this was back like in 2017 when I went to the Inman Real Estate Tech Conference in New York, the one that like Gary Vee and all those people, and I met the Privy guys. But that's where they give you like a score where they're seeing like how often you cut your grass, the average time it takes you to change like a light bulb that has gone out, like where they have all that stuff.
No, yeah,
tracked
you
on
told me that.
That would be a little. That's a little too much.
Listen, like, how about this? Like, it goes to what we talked about with Steve Trang. It's like deposits. I feel like offers. Like, what if it's like, how many properties have you offered on that you've never closed on? Like, some shit like that.
Crazy.
But, and so funny story. And listen, I did not intentionally do this. It's okay. So I have been dialing parks after parks, and I've been going through listings. So here's a listed property that I contact, right? And it's phenomenal deal, park. I really wanted it. I was like excited. I was like, oh, this is a fucking deal. Talk to the agent. It's under contract. I'm like, oh. So I'm like typing in the address. I'm just fiddling around right now. Lo and behold, guess what photo I see on a Facebook group? It's this
Somebody's
park
wholesaling
being
it.
wholesaled. Now listen, I had two paths I could go down. The path traveled or the path least traveled. The path traveled would have been, hey bro, your shit's being remarketed. I didn't do that. I went down the path least traveled that I felt was more ethic, and I said, oh, it's under contract, huh? I said, how do you feel about that?
All right.
And he's like, and he goes, I forget. He was like, and I was talking about this on Instagram, and he's like, oh no, like he's from blah blah blah. I'm not gonna say the state, but he's from out west, and he's legitimate. And I'm like, oh yeah, so like, when's his due diligence up? I think I said, when's his due diligence up? And he says, the end of the month. And I said, oh, so he's seen the property already? And he goes, no, he hasn't. I said, oh, he hasn't seen the property. So you're buying a $1.5 million mobile home park, and you haven't seen it, and you got less than 2 weeks or a little over 2 weeks to go buy this to end your due diligence? And he goes, yeah. I'm like, so you think he's going to close you? He's pretty serious. And he's like, yeah. He goes, he's already hired a transaction coordinating company.
This is an agent you're speaking with?
Oh, yeah, this is the fucking agent. So like, and I'm sitting here looking at the Facebook post, reading this with his listing over. I got multiple monitors, reading this, headphone on, going, yeah. Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty good, man. Sounds like he's pretty serious. And he's like, yeah. He even sent me a proof of funds letter that said he had the ability to to get the money together, and he's working with a group of investors. And I'm like, and he's using all this fucking jargon, and I'm like,
did you look up the agent to see how much business the agent has done before?
Well, I'll get to that because I actually asked him after.
This poor agent.
And so I think that's when I asked him if he saw the park yet. And then I asked him if he saw the park yet, and he said he was coming down. He said he told me he would probably come down the day or so before his due diligence ends so he could see it, give the thumbs up, and we could just go to closing. And I'm like,
but he's trying to wholesale it. How could he not have enough information by coming the day before?
Oh, well, it doesn't even matter. You just got to look at it like, if I'm really buying this park, why am I waiting why do I need a 45-day extension or due diligence to only go out the day before to then, I could go out any day and give my fucking thumbs up. That's not what a due diligence is for. Are you hiring people to inspect anything? Like, what are you doing? Are you meeting all the tenants? You're doing all that the day before?
Right,
and you're just like, $1.5 million. Here you go. So anyway, so I'm just asking him, like, okay, so the due diligence, when's the day? And he told me, and I'm like, okay. And it's like, and when are you supposed to close after that? I'm like, okay. I was like, listen, man, like, all I could do is, like, I'll call you. I'm going to stay in touch with you. Like, I am serious. I will buy this park from you. I own one out in Arkansas. Like, I am ready to go. You can represent me. And I said, how many parks do you normally get? Like, is this something you get a lot of? He goes, no. This is my first one I've ever gotten. And he's like, I've known them, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, but I seem to be getting a lot of interest in this. So I'm going to send out some mailers and get some more. And I'm like, if only it was that. And I was like, cool, I want to be on your buyers list. And I have like the agent's info down here. I also put it in my Google Calendar to call the guy. And like, listen, so I went deeper on this Facebook guy. And like, I went like, I'm looking, and he's been trying to sell this motherfucker since when I was going to say March, but May, starts with May. So he's had this he's been trying to sell it, can't sell it. I messaged him, thinking like worst case scenario, I buy from him, no response. So
the owner, you're talking about the owner in this case?
No, I didn't.
The wholesaler.
The wholesaler, I was like, okay, let me just message him and see what he's working with. No response. So the wholesaler, obviously, I don't fucking know like how you can't read your fucking messages. The agent thinks he's got a deal. I feel bad for the agent. He had another deal fall through before this guy too. So this will be the second one that doesn't go through.
Poor guy.
And it's just like, I mean, and again, maybe this guy sells it. Maybe he does. I have no idea, but I do know that he's going to need an extension on that motherfucker.
Mhm. Yeah.
Papa P, I gotta say, you got some good karma coming your way. I think just for taking the path least traveled and
Oh yeah,
just doing things ethically. I do. I really do think you have some good karma coming
it's
your way.
not my spot to blow somebody's shit up. If he could sell it, he could say he legitimately beat me to it. So it's like whatever, dude. Like it just bothers me though that you would put something under contract at this level without actually having, I'm not saying a guaranteed buyer,
Right.
but a network of people that you know are actively buying and would, if the numbers were right, take this deal
Yeah.
down. It's not off market. That's different. You went to a listed public. It was on CREXI. It's on LoopNet. It's on multiple sites. I found this thing on. You know what I mean? Like, you went and took like a publicly listed thing and then marked it up on top of that
Mhm.
and don't actively have a thing. And now you're going to drag a seller out who needs to sell this property, mind you. And you did a 45-day due diligence and you're going to, and we all know why he said the day before, because he wants every single day humanly
To find a
possible
buyer.
to try to sell this deal.
It's a
Sucks.
lack of maybe experience, maybe lack of who's Papa P? He's back. Papa P's back. Lack of experience potentially, and lack
I
of,
lost Pop.
if he does have the experience, lack of like caring for the seller's situation. Just like, hey, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, no sweat off my
It's just
no sweat off my back.
looking at that
And maybe,
assignment fee.
and maybe the agent was lying to me. Maybe the agent knew he was a wholesaler. I only have one side of this story.
Right.
I was just fair. I was like, oh, really? It was the way he said he's hired a transaction coordinating company. I'm like, bro, that's probably some Filipino overseas. He's paying $3 an hour, but
Their
I got
cousin.
you, dude.
I need you
Yeah.
to give this person a call and say
Yeah.
the transaction coordinator.
But it's a great fucking park, dude. Like,
Yeah. Is that in Arkansas? Different state.
no, it's in South Carolina, but
Okay.
you know, we'll see.
Yeah.
Great deal. I feel like it could be. There's a couple that I'm chasing right now that I feel like are phenomenal deals, and then I'm chasing one in Kentucky. Same thing. I don't know if it's a wholesaler, but the agent reaches back out to me, says the seller's concerned these people are going to back out. They had beat me to the offer. I was talking to the agent, and someone else submitted an offer. The sellers took it, but a couple weeks later, agent reaches back out and says the sellers are iffy on this buyer, and had a list of questions for me. You know, so again, where we went back like 20 minutes ago, I am now verifying and validating who I am.
Right.
Because these people are all wary now because it's the agents. I'm not even talking off market right now. I'm talking on market shit. Agents and sellers are weary of going under contract because in commercial, you have a much longer due diligence.
Mm.
It's not 15 days. You're talking 45, like the one in Kentucky is a 60-day due diligence
Oh,
period.
wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I got to wait now until the end of August, right? Middle of August, whatever, for it to be something or not. But that means they wasted some of June, all of July, and now most of August trying to sell it, and the sellers don't want to do that, so they wanted to line somebody up behind it. And I was like, man, is this like a trend?
Mm-hmm. Probably.
No.
Unfortunate
Wild.
trend. All right, I need a little bit of education.
Yeah.
So, a little bit of interesting news in our family today. Literally just today, this morning, my wife got a phone call from one of my kids' former teachers that they are starting a new charter school in Gainesville for Waldorf education, which is how we teach our kids. My wife has started a new job, which she loves, but it's like trying to balance the kids and both of us working is hard. So she's like, I really feel like we have to put them in school. It's like perfect scenario, right? So now we're potentially looking to move to Gainesville.
Oh, wow.
Which is like 2 hours.
Neighbors with Matt Andrews.
Yeah. Oh, he lives in Gainesville? I thought he lived over in Tampa area.
Who says the event's there?
Anyways, so this teacher says, I live on this like rural street, and there's a house down at the end of the street that this lady's trying to sell, rent to own. And she's been trying for a while. She has like 4 properties in Gainesville, like she's trying to get rid of, but she's backed out twice now. How does rent to own work? So is it basically seller finance, but the other direction?
It just depends on the terms.
Yeah.
The way I've always understood it is you put a deposit down, and then all or some of that rent goes towards the principal. When the term
Mhm.
is up, you then take that remainder amount, whatever it is, and you go get a mortgage to cover it.
Okay.
Again, you could do it anyway. I mean, potentially you could do it for the entire time. It depends on the dollar amount of the rent
Mhm.
versus the purchase. But that's typically how rent to own works. It's more like
Yeah.
an installment style type of thing. A little different than seller finance, but follows along the same basic construct.
Yep, and
Interesting.
that's I would agree with that. That's when I first like heard of somebody teaching that method was like a Joe McCall webinar, and we went and like showed him Podio way back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would typically be that, and I feel like it would be like a year or two of renting, and all this stuff is agreed upon and put into the contract, of course. But
Yeah.
a year or two of renting the purchase, then you have an option to purchase at the end. It's like, hey,
Yeah,
you're
it's
going to
like an
rent
option.
this.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a 12, 24-month lease,
Or
whatever
you
your lease
forfeit
is.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, at this decision point, you then have the right, or you have the option to buy this property, or you move out, essentially.
Interesting. Okay.
So some people have even found it beneficial, like the person that owns that house, if they were an investor, it might make most sense revenue wise for them to turn tenants every 2 years. It's like, hey, someone's going to rent it for 2 years, they don't buy it, then they rent it again for 2 years,
Yeah.
they don't buy it. It's like, oh, they're almost paying,
Because
getting a little
you
more.
get a deposit that's non-refundable, you get rent, and sometimes you could charge a higher rent because you're like, well, this is going to go towards your
Right.
house, you know. And,
Exactly.
And people are like, oh, this is good, we're paying it down while we're living there. But then a lot of times it just doesn't work out for the people, and then they don't end up buying it, and you as the landlord or owner get to keep it. It all depends on the individual terms. I just think it's funny that you're actually going to move to Gainesville just so your kids could get educated. There's got to be a much better way to do that, unless you love Gainesville. I
Oh, we
personally
do love
recommend it.
Gainesville.
Oh, okay. So there
Then
you
my
go.
wife worked. That's where her job is. So she works remote, but the office is in Gainesville.
Oh, that sounds like a perfect little storm brewing there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. It still sounds horrible to me. It's still hot and sweaty. I don't know
It's
why.
got it's got more springs than Orlando does. It's perfect for my family.
What about what? I thought North Carolina was perfect.
I mean, North Carolina is where we want to go in the summer. Like our
What if
ideal
you could
situation.
live there full time?
No, I don't want to live. No, hell
No,
no.
you
There's
know
no
you
way
don't.
I'm not
No.
taking Florida's tax breaks. Our goal is to
Oh,
live in,
yeah. I forgot
Florida,
about the tax breaks. My bad. You're right. That's a huge incentive. No state
Yeah.
tax. I mean, 100%. I totally let that slip.
Florida 7 months, North Carolina in the summer. That's our
Yep.
like ideal situation. So I mean and the house is not, it's not in horrible condition. It's not in the best condition. She's listed on the MLS. She's taking it off. Hang on, I have to look it up. But it's like on a lake. It's like our ideal.
What's the address?
Place.
Shoot me a text. I'll make her a call and make her a cash offer real quick. Sneak it from John, and next thing you know, like next week, you're like, Brandon, where you at? I'm at my new house in Gainesville, guys. There's a lake in the back.
There you go. I'll shoot it to you. I gotta look it up on Zillow. Hang on.
All I could say is if it's old, stay away.
It seems pretty old.
House. You know, it's an interesting concept though. It's a shame that you're not going to homeschool them, but I guess charter school is your next best bet. But we've been talking about homeschooling my son, who's now going into 3rd grade. You know, it's quite a thing. I don't know if that's my internet or not. I'm plugged in.
I think it's John.
Yeah.
It was me. My audio cut out. I'm trying to pull this place
Anyway, you know what else I've seen a lot on Facebook now that I've been perusing? A lot of people are trying to sub to their cars.
What?
I have seen that.
Bro, it's wild. Like so I literally have 2 screens. I'm dialing mobile home parks on one or doing my follow-ups, and I am trolling Facebook for parks and anything else that I could see and building like this memory bank of shit. And one of the memory banks right now is the trend that I've seen of people in these creative finance groups talking about, I got my BMW, I got this, like,
Mhm.
and they're not doing it because they're making money. They're doing it because it seems like, and people doing their houses too. And it's like I am seeing more and more of these other investors who are like, hey, this is what's right for my family. I'd really love to sub to this. Here's my, and it's a low rate, you know, because they probably bought it as the economy and they were making money, and now things are tough, and I'm guessing aren't.
So
And so
they
now,
own the vehicle and they want
yeah, and
somebody
these
else to
aren't,
buy it sub to.
and the reason why I'm bringing this up is these aren't just like a Corolla and shit. These are BMWs,
Right.
Mercedes. These are SUVs. These are things that generally people would want to buy as they start making money. These houses aren't little shit houses. They're nice fucking houses in the 300-400K price range. Like, this is just the trend I'm seeing. And they're like, hey, if anybody wants to do this, like, I'm willing to do this, is what's best for me and my family. Or, hey, I have one guy had 2 cars, 2 sports cars he's trying to sub 2 out. And I'm like, is this it? Like, this is now, instead of getting foreclosed on or repoed,
Right.
we're now sub-2ing everything as investors when the market gets. This is what Pace Morby has brought our investor market to. Is now everyone's getting creative with how they lose their assets.
Uh-huh. That's pretty funny that they're like, I've got things that I want to sub to versus like you go find things to sub
I'm telling
to.
you, man, if you
Mhm.
hop on these creative groups, you'll see. Carlos knows. I mean, you've seen
Yeah,
them, right?
100%.
Like, I've just found a trend in this, and this has been like I've been seeing it since like the beginning of the year, but I feel like it's started to pick up like more and
100%.
more lately.
That's really interesting.
But it makes sense. I mean, car interest rates are up, house interest rates are up. I was talking to the guy on a park today over in Hot Springs, and it's a phenomenal deal. But he said no owner finance, the rate was, I write down 8.5% at the bank to take down a park. And I'm like, holy shit.
He said no to seller financing?
Yeah, there was a wholesaler. It was the guy I was talking
okay.
about earlier. And I was like, well, how can I buy this? Blah, blah. And he's like, well, I have a lender, but his rate's at 8.5 you could talk to, and he'll give you the loan on it. And I'm like, I'm buying one up in fucking Jonesboro at like 3%, bro. Like, why am I, you know what I mean? Like, you got me coming 8.5%.
That's crazy.
But that's the going rate right now
Yeah.
for these deals, I guess. Anyway.
Interesting. House is from 1960. Is that
No,
too
that's
old?
not bad. No.
Okay.
That's not bad. Is block?
It is. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is block.
Yeah, you're good. You're good, bro.
Cool. Got
Alright,
Papa
guys.
P's approval.
Yeah, you got more. I haven't seen it.
I'll absolutely be sending him
Well, you haven't
any
ruled it
terms.
out.
I'll be like, I don't know. Let me send it to my real estate guy.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
we're
reach
gonna
out
give
to
him
the
a call
seller,
today.
and then I'll wholesale it to John on payment.
Exactly. Get like 60 days due diligence.
We spread. I wonder if anyone's done that. Spread on a rent to own, where John's got to make 2 individual payments.
Oh my god.
I talked to a guy, a wholesaler on a park, who was trying to do that. I said, "What's your fee?" He's like, "I'm okay taking payments." I'm like, "So I got to make multiple. I got to pay the seller. It was a seller finance deal. I'm gonna pay the seller payments, and then you want your fee and fucking payments too. I got multiple notes up on this fucking property. People are getting creative, dude.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
guess so. Gotta do what
They
you
really
gotta
are.
do. Oh man.
All right, guys. Oh, well, yeah. We already talked about the XRP thing.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Hold that coin. Prove your wife even more. Not wrong, because Brittany's never wrong, but
Right.
I'll hold to that and everything else.
There you go. I like it. All right, guys. Well, have a great rest of the day and enjoy your weekend. Enjoy Asheville. I hear it's going to be hot everywhere in the United States, apparently. Like, I think it was Las Vegas. They're like, don't come outside between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. because if you're out there for more than 20 minutes, you will die.
Climate change.
Oh my gosh.
Global warming.
Yeah. Global warming. It's a thing.
There was a guy who did, sorry, but this was, and I haven't validated it or verified it. There was a guy who did the math, and I'm going to fuck all the numbers up, but it was a video I saw of the guy saying, they say that Australia puts out like 400 blank cubic tons of CO2 emissions or whatever. And he's like, but they say that a tree takes in like blank X amount of CO2. And then he's like, there are on average blank amount of trees in Australia, native standard size trees. He did the math on every tree inside of Australia, not including indigenous plants and other type of tree life form, just standard size trees. And it was in surplus of the CO2 that Australia is claimed to be emitting, and he goes, this makes you wonder why they're trying to chop down more trees to put in solar farms when we have enough trees. It's like nature has provided us the way. We are net positive in Australia. Nature's provided us this way to handle this, and that's why he thinks climate change and global warming is bullshit. He did the math. And I was like, I
Interesting.
don't think I've ever heard anybody do that before.
I don't think I've ever heard that either.
I felt like I wanted to dive into this and see like if the math actually panned out.
But I would want to talk to like a chemical scientist, because I don't know if the emissions that are coming from things that are burning can be fully absorbed by a tree.
Do not know.
That'd be intriguing. And
Beyond
but
my knowledge.
funny thing. So the Zac Efron series that you saw about Wait Just About What? So they have a second season, which we're currently
I haven't
working
seen
through.
that. I haven't seen that yet.
It's all in Australia, and the
Is
episode we watched last night was the amount of wildfires that they've had. So like they don't have as many trees as they used to,
They
because
lost a lot of
like
trees, bro.
I think it's 2020, like they were specifically on this one island, but it was like literally 70% of the island got wiped out from wildfires, and every tree is gone. Yeah, it was pretty crazy to hear about. And they go through like how climate change like is increasing.
I gotta watch that the second season. We've been talking about it, but we haven't actually.
It's all the whole season's in Australia. It's pretty
No,
interesting.
it's a good.
Yeah,
it's a good show. I think it's very educational. They do a good way in teaching in the show.
yeah. They have a Zac Efron cartoon now in the second season that comes in for like a 3-minute segment to educate you on the specific topic of the episode. Because it's like topics versus like locations now.
Yeah.
It's
a good concept though.
Yeah, no, we really like it. I think we've only got 2 episodes left.
I'm going to see Sounds of Freedom tomorrow with my daughter.
Who are Sounds of Freedom?
What is that? Some people have been posting out the movie, but I haven't.
What the fuck, guys? Where are you on your?
You're gonna have to give us a recap episode.
Yeah, it's a child trafficking, sex trafficking.
Oh, wow.
It was a huge thing.
Why is it so controversial?
Because one, it's talking about it, which we don't talk about it enough. But apparently, Disney had the rights, refused to air it. Angel Studios bought it, went to Netflix, went to Amazon. Nobody wanted to produce this movie, so they pre-sold the tickets to produce this movie. And then, like, they had limited releases because nobody wanted to. This was the article I read. No theaters wanted to put it in, so they had like only 2,000 in some theaters that would release this thing across the country versus Indiana Jones. Boom! It still beats out Indiana Jones. And that's why it's an underground favorite, because they underestimated how much the American people would resonate with something like this. And,
so it's controversial in the sense that it's all factually based and people just don't
it's a true story.
Truth.
I haven't seen it yet, but it's a true story. But I've seen the guy outwardly speaking who this is about, and he's been speaking about it for a while, but it's fallen on deaf ears. People don't want to talk about these things.
Interesting.
I mean, it's a serious thing. Like, it's not,
Oh, yeah.
In Tampa, and I was Googling, Tampa is one of the top places in the country for little kids, getting snatched.
Interesting.
It's fucked up, dude.
Mm-hmm. I would be intrigued to hear your review.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. I wanted to bring my daughter because she does stupid shit.
There's a place in Lakeland that is showing this?
Yeah. She does stupid shit, and she doesn't believe this shit's real. So I'm gonna take her.
Prove her wrong.
It's like when she was little and she went down by the lake behind our house when she moved from Pennsylvania and didn't believe me that there was a thing called alligators in there. And we would always yell at her. And one day, Daddy showed her the alligator right where she used to go down by the lake. And from that moment on, she didn't go down by the lake. And so I feel like I got to do that again.
I saw my first alligator in the water this week.
Did you?
Nice.
I saw an alligator while running, and you know what my initial instinct was?
To jump on it?
To go help it back into the water. And then I thought to myself, wait a second, you idiot. This is a fucking alligator, and you shouldn't go anywhere near it. It doesn't need your fucking help. Keep running. So I kept running. But that was, I'm no lie, like the people in Yellowstone who are like, oh, let me go pet this bear. Let me get up close. There's a guy taking photos of it.
Yeah.
It's right up by the running path. And I'm like, I stop and I'm like, oh, maybe this guy needs to be guided down or like get away from these people. And I'm like, you fucking idiot. It's a fucking alligator. Keep fucking going. Mind your business, bro. Leave wildlife alone.
Uh-huh. They're pretty interesting. I know people that swim with alligators, like reptile enthusiasts, like they'll go find them in the wild and swim with them.
Nope.
But it's
Good on
funny.
them.
Before the turtle survey, Shannon showed me this video clip of this guy on Facebook, and he found a snapping turtle and got his finger too close, and it completely clean cut off the tip of his finger, and they had to sew it back on. I was like, great, this is what I need to see. 2 days before I'm about to go catch. We didn't see any snapping turtles this survey,
You just
but
leave
I caught soft shells.
Leave wildlife alone. They
Don't tell my son that. He sees a snake and jumps on it.
Nope.
But he knows to tell the difference between a venomous and a non-venomous. So that's the important part.
I don't. I stay away from all of them. Stay away from gators. Stay away from snakes.
I'm a reptile enthusiast from far and was a huge teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle guy growing up. But besides that, I'm good.
I let them do their thing. They let me do mine.
Yeah.
We all live in peace and harmony. Respect.
There you go. All right, guys. Enjoy the movie. Let us know how it goes next week.
Will do. Talk to you.
See you guys.
See you guys.